The Cleveland Browns, oh, do they stink? Not really. They're not a bad team. They're not where they used to be, but they still just have that stench around them. These are their upcoming notable free agents, headlined by Jadeveon Clowney on the D line here. They obviously still have Myles Garrett, but Aaron, who is the most important person on this list?
I'm actually going to go with Malik Jackson. Their
Malik
interior
Action
defense.
Jackson.
Malik Action Jackson. I was going to go with the linebackers, but I do think they got some young guys that can come in and maybe get better. But I'm going to go with their interior defensive line. Cleveland's defense has a ton of talented names, right? All of those guys, Denzel Ward. They're loaded on defense with names, but they've just continued to underachieve year after year. I think they need to go get some solid foundational pieces that maybe don't have the names or the glamorous guys that we like to call out every year, but guys that just come in and do the dirty work and do their job. Some rotational pieces. I think Malik Jackson, losing him is going to hurt, but I do think they can fill that void in free agency. They have a lot of work to do as well. Very similar to what we were talking about with Baltimore. I don't think it's a matter of one piece. I think it starts there, but I think there's a lot of defensive pieces that they could look for this offseason.
Dylan,
go ahead.
No, okay. I was gonna.
You mentioned the names there, Aaron. Right? You mentioned the names, and I there's no one that gets more out of their names than a Vic Fangio. I would can Joe Woods and get Vic Fangio on that defense. I mean, you got Grant Delpit, Greg Newsome, Denzel Ward. I mean, you got names. Why don't you bring in a veteran guy who can get more schemes around this team and literally bring that there? You mentioned Malik Jackson, his beautiful sack celebration, but I missed that in Duval. Yeah, the defense is a lot, but there's more needs than just the defense.
Yeah, and what would be your one need and what one player that the Browns should get this offseason?
Yeah, I don't think this was necessarily counted as a loss because it happened in the middle of the season, but it's at the wide receiver position. They lost Odell Beckham. I like a veteran that can control this room. Bring in A.J. Green. I mean, you mentioned A.J. Green. He had a great year last year coming over to the Arizona Cardinals. He's going back to the NFC North. Or AFC North, sorry. We've seen great wide receivers in divisions go back into a division rival. We've seen Andre Johnson go from the Texans to the Colts and things like that. I think A.J. Green really helps out this Cleveland Browns team. I mean, he's a veteran. You got Jarvis Landry on the other side. You got some youth behind him, Donovan Peoples-Jones, some Rashard Higgins. But, I mean, you bring in an A.J. Green. He's just going to be a consistent target for Baker Mayfield. I know we saw the David Njoku news, but I still think that they need another weapon on the outside, a wide receiver. And A.J. Green, although he is a little bit old, he gives that consistency factor of a proven veteran, a potential Hall of Famer right there in that room.
I don't know if I like that.
Oh, you've been the biggest A.J. Green hater for the past year and a half.
But like, how much has A.J. I mean, I guess the one thing that's ringing in my head when you're talking about he's a good locker room guy or whatever, it's the time he got tossed for trying to fight Jalen Ramsey. Like, I mean, this dude, like, obviously like fights don't like that doesn't make him by that type of player, but like, to me, I just don't see, and maybe it has to do with the quarterback position. I don't want to keep harping on the quarterback position in Cleveland, but maybe it's whatever wide receiver comes in here doesn't matter to me until they move on and go to the next step at the quarterback position in Cleveland. Because I really you can bring in like AJ Green, or I the first person I thought of here for Cleveland was like a Christian Kirk too. One of those type of names, any type of wide receiver, because they do need help at the receiver position. But it's like whoever comes in, it's not going to matter because they don't have someone who's going to be able to get them the ball.
Yeah, they do.
So I don't love the AJ Green signing, but not because I don't think AJ Green can complement or be a good nice piece. It's because if he goes to Cleveland, he has to be the number one, and he can't. Like he's past his prime. He's 33, going to be 34. He is not a number one receiver anymore. And you're asking him to now take over that number one role. They're losing Rashard Higgins into free agency as well. And then Jarvis Landry is unsure whether he's going to be there, but he's not the outside guy that really demands the attention. He more plays in the slot and does all the stuff across the middle of the field. I really, really like the idea of a Christian Kirk, to be honest. You're right. They need playmakers, Dylan. There's no doubt about it. And there are very few receivers that are probably going to be available to them. from free agency. You're not going to get a Devontae Adams going there. You're probably not getting Allen Robinson going there, and you're probably not seeing and you're not seeing a Chris Godwin going there. So outside of that, it starts to leave you with very few pieces. So if they signed AJ Green and then went out and got somebody else, maybe, and got a Christian Kirk, I would like that together, tandem. Or they draft a guy and then they bring in AJ Green on some veteran deal. I wouldn't mind that. But to me, if they're looking for a number one guy or a weapon from that perspective, I'm not looking AJ Green. I'm looking elsewhere. Maybe a guy with some potential that can break out like a Christian Kirk, given an opportunity if he's given that chance. So
the most Browns thing to happen, it'll be Mike Williams, and he'll end up being overpaid, and he won't live up to it. And then it's not a shot at Mike Williams. Again, I say it's the quarterback position, but it'll be Mike Williams not being able to live up to this contract. I can just see that kind of circling back.